All right, here we are with Genesis chapter 2. So, here we go. So the creation of the heavens and the earth and everything in them was completed. On the seventh day, God had finished his work of creation, so he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because it was the day when he rested from all his work of creation. This is the account of creation, the heavens of the earth. The man and woman in Eden. When the Lord God had made the earth and the heavens, neither wild plants nor grain were growing on the earth. For the Lord God had not yet sent rain to water the earth, and there were no people to cultivate the soil. Instead, springs came up from the ground and watered all the land. Where did that water come from? Remember, chapter 1, he pushed the water down, had to go somewhere. Now he's bringing the water up because he hasn't yet established evaporation process with the sun for that water to be absorbed and rain to fall back down. So right now, water's coming up. Then the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground. He breathed the breath of life into the man's nostrils, and the man became a living person. What happens when you take dust? What is dust? What happens when you take the dust and add water? You get clay. You get something that you can mold. You get something workable. You get something that you can work and create. Then the Lord God planted a garden in the east, and there he placed the man he had made. Then the Lord God planted a garden in Eden to the east, and there he placed the man he had made. The origins of the word Eden mean a flat plane, a flat workable surface, like a canvas for painting, right? That's Eden. The Lord God made all sorts of trees grow up from the ground. Trees were beautiful that produced delicious fruit in the middle of the garden, and he placed the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. The tree of knowledge is what lets us understand right from wrong. The tree of life, should they have eaten from it, two major spiritual divine trees, tree of life, tree of knowledge. The tree of life, should they have eaten from it, would have let them live forever. The tree of knowledge gives them the knowledge that they were not ready for. A river flowed from the land of Eden. A river flowed from the land of Eden, watering the garden and then dividing into 4 branches. The first branch, called the Pishon, flowed around the entire land of Havilah, where gold is found. Now, he never mentioned gold. This is important because God never mentioned gold before this, right? The gold of that land is exceptionally pure. Aromatic resin means you can smell it. Aroma. Resin stuff that comes out of trees. And onyx stone is essentially a black stone, are also found there. Now, God didn't mention anything about the creation of gold, resin, or onyx stone. Onyx stone typically comes from volcanoes after they explode, come down, and the lava turns hardcore black and becomes onyx. Or at least that's my version. But God never mentions creating any of these things. The importance of that for me is telling me that God has created a lot more things here that I know nothing about. The second branch, called the Gihon, flowed around the entire land of Cush. I believe Cush, without looking it up right now, is Southeast Africa. The third branch, called the Tigris River, ever hear of it? Flowed east of the land of Ashur. The fourth branch is called the Euphrates River, ever hear of it? The Lord God placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it, to cultivate it, to tend to it, to take care of it. But the Lord God warned him, you may freely eat the fruit of every tree in the garden except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die. Listen, this is what God said to who we call Adam, which Adam means man, human. It's not a name. It's not a proper name. Adam, Mike, Jim, Bob. No, Adam means human. If you eat its fruit, you are sure to die. It is not poisonous fruit, as in crunch, dead. The death is here. The knowledge gained is sure to lead to death. Because when you learn the difference between good and evil, and you find out that evil is way easier and more enjoyable, demonically enjoyable than good, we gravitate towards evil. And that is the death. You will die to purity. Then the Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. No, Adam and Eve ate the apple, yes, but God told this instruction to man, to Adam. Don't eat that. Don't eat from the tree of knowledge. Eve's not even around yet. This is a discussion between God and Adam. Adam knows nothing. God's trying to teach him along this way. This book doesn't describe everything that God has done with Adam to get him along the way, teach him, introduce him. And we understand that because he's up here talking about rivers and gold and onyx. He never introduced us to the concept of gold, onyx. He never even explains what they are. We know what they are because of our human upbringing. Then the Lord God says, not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper who is right for him. So the Lord God formed from the ground all the animals. Listen. So the Lord God formed from the ground all the wild animals and all the birds of the sky, just like he formed man. He brought them to the man to see what he would call them. And the man chose a name for each one. He gave names to all the livestock, all the birds of the sky and all the wild animals, but still there was no helper right for him. Right? Because cow and cow, horse and horse, pig and pig, chicken and chicken, not chicken and man, cow and man. God's testing to see what man will do, what man will choose. And man chose properly. He chose correct. He was like, nah, none of these equal, none of them are the same as me. I need something that resonates with me. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. While the man slept, the Lord God took out one of the man's ribs and closed up the opening. Now, it's not a real rib. We're not counting ribs here. The origins of the word rib were changed. It says God took something from the man's side. God didn't want to create another human out of the dust. God created one already. Now he replicated to get a perfect replication. He got it from the original source, which was Adam. Then the Lord God made a woman from this rib, and he brought her to the man. At last, the man exclaimed, this one is bone from my bone and flesh from my flesh. She will be called woman, because she was taken from man. Woman means from man. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Now the man and his wife were both naked, but they felt no shame. And here's the problem with our understanding is we think, oh, he's married, he's got a wife. Oh, they must have went to the Catholic Church and the Pope must have came out and blah. No, none of that exists. The word wife, the origins of wife is woman. Two words, same meaning. When you say, walking down the street, hey, look at that wife, you're talking about a woman. This is my wife. This is my woman. That's amazing background noise, right? Storming. Now the man and his wife were both naked. Everything's naked. But they felt no shame. They didn't know any different. Not until they were taught different. That wraps up chapter 2. I'm going to leave it at that. It's very important with this book to understand we're not being told everything because there's too much knowledge, there's too much information. It would complicate and destroy our simple minds. We have to slowly progress, slowly train our minds to understand, to learn, to grow, to mature. That's it. God bless.